Hello everyone, welcome again to all of you in the lecture series of the course of Novel Techniques in Food Processing and Preservation. In this lecture, that is lecture 5, last lecture of membrane separation technology for this course, we will discuss about the membrane fouling and application of membrane technology in food processing. Membrane fouling has a very significant effect on membrane performance, which later on affect the quality and cost of the operation. After completion of this lecture, you will be able to understand membrane fouling, that includes types and cost of operation with the effect of membrane fouling, also foulants and possible remedy to control the fouling during processing operation. Also, along with fouling, we will discuss about the application of membrane technology in food processing and preservation with the detailed flow chart, in particular dairy and fruit juices, for the profound understanding of this concept. So let's start the lecture. So basically, fouling of farm membrane can be referred as the reduction in feed transport per unit area of membrane flux caused by a substance or substances in the feed that accumulate either or on or in the membrane. In food processing industry, membrane filtration system including microfiltration, ultrafiltration, nanofiltration and reverse osmosis all share in that they use semi-permeable membrane to separate particles from the feed. Membrane fouling occurs where contaminants are deposited on the surface of a filtration membrane, restricting the flow of liquids through the membrane's pores. Contamination of membrane, also referred as membrane fouling, causes high energy use, a higher cleaner frequency and a shorter lifespan of the membrane. There can be one or more factors that contribute to fouling, such as presence of excess biological, colloidal and organic particles in the feed, inappropriate choice of membrane methods, that is unsuitable process conditions such as flow rate, temperature and pressure. Further, classification of fouling has been described differently based on various parameters. Types of membrane fouling are often referred according to the type of foulants present in the feed stream, which can include particulate or colloidal fouling, biological or microbial fouling, scaling, precipitation fouling and organic fouling. Each of these types of fouling can be either reversible or irreversible. Here we will discuss two major types of membrane fouling, that is colloidal fouling and biological fouling. Colloidal fouling is caused by destabilization of colloidal particles, results in agglomeration of particles. It generally happens due to their surface charge and small size, which causes particles to bind chemically with the membrane. Particulate colloid fouling is caused by the presence of non-biological and inorganic particles. Further, biological fouling, which is also referred as biofouling, is a process of accumulation where microorganisms, plants, algae or other biological contaminants grow or infiltration membrane surface and pores. Biofouled membranes, which cause reduction in permeate flow, can be challenging to correct and in some cases may need total replacement for the next operation. Fouling has a very severe impact on the process of separation and it causes mainly poor permeate quality, low permeate retention processing, membrane damage and need of frequent cleaning for further operation during the processing. So in general, concentration polarization is a process of accumulation of retained solutes in the membrane boundary of at the feed side. In case of concentration polarization, when pressure is applied to the feed side of a membrane during the filtration process, the solution is partially or totally retained by the membrane and accumulate on the surface, while the solvent passes through the membrane more freely. Here, as given in the diagram, water diffuses through the membrane rapidly and dissolved and suspended particles in the water don't diffuse through the membrane readily. Thus, solid can accumulate to concentration that exceed their concentration in the bulk feed water. This phenomenon is generally referred as concentration polarization and basically a mass transfer related phenomena that may cause falling or scaling. Colloidal solvents. Here colloids are inorganic or mixed inorganic organic based particles that are suspended in water and do not settle out due to gravity. Colloidal matter typically contains one or more of the following major components: iron, aluminum, silica, sulfur, or organic matter. Further, colloids are basically highly stable with single charge on the surface. Thus, when some external agents are added to destabilize the charge, results in coagulation. It has been found generally that some colloids may actually bind to the membrane due to their chemical makeup and surface charge characteristics, but some physically bond to membrane result in falling. Here in diagram, common falling risk due to average falling distribution worldwide has been shown. You may see in the diagram that depicts that in general organic solvents play major cause in most of the falling problem, and it shares around 50.2% of total falling percentage. Further, in case of inorganic or colloidal falling, silica, iron oxide and alumina are the major inorganic solvents, and it shares around 25% of total falling percentage. Here in this diagram, falling of polypropylene membrane used for reverse osmosis membrane has been shown before and after the application. You may feel the difference between both these membrane. One of this membrane is before the application and one is after the application. Here are some more diagram that represents the falling in case of colloidal falling as well as bioic falling. Here, fallings and modes of falling has been discussed with the help of this table. We categorize fallings and falling modes as two basic parameters. In fallings, which includes large suspended particles, small colloidal particles, macromolecules, small molecules, proteins, chemicals reaction leading to scaling and biological fallings. So if you see large suspended particles which causes because of falling mode, particle present in the original feed can block module channels as well as forming a cake layer on the surface. Similarly, small colloidal particles in which falling mode is colloidal particles that create a falling layers because of brackish water, in case of especially water during the processing of seawater. In recovery of cells from fermentation broth, some colloids can be present where small colloidal particles as a pollutants may be present. Similarly, under the macromolecules and the small molecules, where gel or cake formation on the membrane can cause as a medium of falling mode, or small organic molecules like antifoaming agents, polypropylene glycols, which can be used during the fermentation process. In proteins, interaction with the surface on pores of membranes as a falling mode, and chemical reactions which causes to the scaling because of concentration increase and change in the pH value can lead to precipitation and causes falling. Similarly, under the biological foluents, falling mode can be growth of bacteria on the membrane surface and excretion of extracellular polymers we may see in this table. So far, we have discussed membrane falling, types of falling and its effect, which is a prevailing problem during membrane separation operation. Conclusively, we can say that membrane falling is a complex process and common to all types of membrane where the physiochemical properties of the membrane, the type of cells, the quality of the feed, the type of solute molecules and the operating conditions play a vital role in the membrane falling process. Moreover, the end results of most membrane separation is a fault surface that the operator might not be able to clean to its original state, and further membrane separation process can be halted. Thus, to reduce the tendency to irreversible falling, it is essential to operate the food processing plant below the critical flux, and this must be addressed to go hand in hand with reliable feed pretreatment methods. So, if we talk about the feed treatment methods, that means we should prefer microfiltration, ultrafiltration and nanofiltration before opting reverse osmosis as a direct membrane separation process. So, here we will discuss about the application of membrane technology in food processing, which is the last part of this course. Over the last 50 to 60 years, membrane processing have become major tools in the food processing operation. The food processing sector is representing the second sector of the membrane application after water treatment and on equal terms with pharmaceutical and biotechnological applications. Among the food sector, the dairy industry has undoubtedly developed most advanced filtration procedures for concentration and fractionation molecule from milk and its derivatives. The first membrane development in the separation procedure of milk component occurred in the late 1960s with the advent of membrane separation. This has spawned a new industry for whey treatment as well as new avenues for the cheese making. Since then, the membrane equipments have been implemented throughout the dairy processing chains, milk reception, cheese making, whey protein concentration, fractionation of protein, effluent treatment like processed water. So they are the ample applications already being used in dairy processing, and it has been estimated that around 40% of the membrane food application are developed in the dairy processing. So as said earlier, membrane technology has revolutionized the dairy sector. Different types of membrane are being used in the food processing industry for various purposes like extending shelf life of milk without exposure to heat treatment, standardization of the major components of milk for tailoring new products as well as increasing the yield, and quality of the dairy products and concentrating, fractionation and purification of milk components, especially valuable milk proteins in their natural state like whey protein isolate, whey protein concentrate. In the cheese industry, membrane increase the yield and quality of cheese and control the whey volume, which is the major part and major development in the membrane processing in the dairy sector. So control the whey volume by concentrating the cheese milk. Here in the flow chart, processing of skim milk into different useful fractionation like whey protein isolate, whey protein concentrate, lactose and finally processed water has been achieved with the proper selection of membrane. Whey, that is a byproduct of milk, is basically when milk is processed to form cheese or yogurt, the remaining liquid is called whey. This liquid contains the fast digesting protein commonly in milk is whey, and the other 80% is made of the slower digesting casein proteins. So 20% of the protein is whey and 80% part of this milk is whey milk is casein. As we know that whey and casein are both considered high quality proteins because of their content all the amino acids needed by our body. However, whey is considered particularly beneficial for increasing the production of new protein in our muscles as it is readily absorbed by our body. There are several nutritional differences between whey isolate and concentrate here. These differences are caused by the processing methods. Overall, the processing steps used in the production of whey isolate results in higher protein content and lower fat and carbohydrate content per serving. So if we talk about this schematic diagram for the membrane filtration in dairy industry, skim milk is passed through the microfiltration which gives the permeate as a ideal whey which contains both whey protein concentrate and whey protein isolate. So it is passed through ultrafiltration and it gives as a concentrate whey protein isolate powder and whey protein concentrate, and as a permeate it is passed through and through the nanofiltration and give concentrate as a lactose, so another useful component of the whey, and permeate when it pass through the RO, that is reverse osmosis, gives the processed water. So all the part of skim milk is being utilized with the help of membrane separation. So if we talk about the lactose is a major component of milk in an organic substance that exists in dairy wastewater and causes environmental pollution generally. So lactose is used in the sweet industry and also as a raw material in fermentation process generally. Therefore, it is necessary to develop a process with high potential to concentrate and purify lactose as a major component, and it can be achieved with the help of membrane separation process. So after seeing this schematic diagram, we can see that in modern dairy processing, membrane can play a major role in clarification of the milk, increase the concentration of the selected components, as well as the separation of the specific valuable components from milk, which we know as a byproduct. Membrane separation technology seems a logical choice for the fractionation of milk because many milk components can be separated on the basis of size, and it can be achieved with the help of different membrane like macrofiltration, ultrafiltration, nanofiltration and reverse osmosis membrane. The membrane technology improves the economics of dairy by reducing the cost of production as well as generating new revenue resources, in particular for whey protein valorization. Whey has a very valuable market, and for any dairy industry it should not be one off. So here in this slide we are going to use membrane separation for the treatment of seawater. Membrane technology currently dominates the industry of desalination and brackish water treatment. Seawater reverse osmosis system accounts for more than 50% of the global capacity, which is about 70 million meter cube per day of desalination plants. So when we see this schematic diagram of membrane filtration, it basically is a simple process where seawater is sedimented in an open tank using ferric sulfate. Ferric sulfate is a coagulating agent or flocculant which passes through the basic filtration process and goes ultra filtration as a pre-treatment. This is basically the 6 chambers, each have a 500 volume meter cube and total 3000 meter cube, passes through the filtration and then goes to the reverse osmosis in order to increase the membrane life. And after the reverse osmosis, this process goes to the remineralization, and this is the treated water for the drinking purposes. So as we discussed with the seawater treatment, here we can see that the most significant operation and maintenance problem encountered in RO process is membrane fouling. We have also discussed in membrane fouling section. So UF membrane is the most sustainable solution to counter or minimize befouling potential. It has been found that reduction in turbidity is from 60 to 80 NTU to 0.3 NTU after 0.1 NTU, after UF 0.1 NTU. So basically NTU stands for nephelometric turbidity unit, that is the unit used to measure the turbidity of a fluid or the presence of suspended particles in water. It has been generally observed that the higher the concentration of suspended solids in the water is, the dirtier it looks and the higher the turbidity is. And if you change the NTU or want to make a relation between NTU and suspended solids, generally 1 milligram per liter, which is also noted as ppm, part per million, is equivalent to 3 NTU. So here if we say this is the 60 to 80 NTU means 180 to 240 milligram per liter ppm, and we convert it to 0.3 NTU, that is 0.9 milligram per liter. So the source seawater is conditioned with ferric sulfate as a dosage of 2 to 5 mg per liter. Ferric sulfate basically is used as a coagulant or flocculant for odor control, to minimize hydrogen sulfide release, that is the major component of the seawater, for phosphoric removal and the sludge thickening. UF that is ultrafiltration for pilot system uses 6 modules each within an area of 500 square feet and gives a total of 3000 square feet of membrane surface area. So basic uses of all these things, sedimentation, coagulating agent as well as ultrafiltration, to increase the life of reverse osmosis membrane in order to have a proper supply of treated water with the use or without the use of remineralization for drinking purposes from the seawater to the potable water. Here are the parameters. Membrane for UF which is being used generally, that is polypropylene hollow fiber. Outside diameter is 0.31 mm, thickness is 0.035 mm, pore size has a range of 0.02 micrometer. This is designed as per the need or presence of the minerals we are going to balance with the help of reverse osmosis or ultrafiltration. Membrane for RO reverse osmosis is polyimide thin film hollow fiber modules. Nowadays we use TFC or combination of all of these things, and temperature is all about where it is optimized is 29 to 30 degrees Celsius. So after the sea treatment, here we can see that preparation of concentrates utilizing reverse osmosis. So enzyme treatment, which is a very useful to assist juice component separation. Enzyme treatment is basically used to increase the yield of juice by using enzyme keeping in between the membrane. So both clarified and cloudly pineapple juice have been found to be similar flux during the use of reverse osmosis. Pressed apple juice and depectinized or clarified pressed juice have the same flux rate. It has been found with the help of research. Further, depectination of orange juice increased reverse osmosis flux, that is up to the 15 to 20%. So basically difference in flux rate is less observed, but enzyme treatment minimize the formation of fouling. So enzyme treatment basically is used during the membrane with the help of membrane technology by ultrafiltration and reverse osmosis. Here we can see in the diagram with the help of membrane, when external fouling and internal fouling, here it is presented with the feed flow, and by the use of enzyme treatment it minimizes the formation of fouling. We will see about the membrane technology for concentration of fruit juices. So after the application in dairy, seawater, membrane technology in food processing is used for the concentration of fruit juices. Membrane technology has emerged as a substitute to traditional juice clarification and concentration process, as they require less manpower, reduced operating cost and low temperature. So it is a low temperature process which the organoleptic process quality of the juice is almost retained by using membrane. The advantage of the membrane process over traditional methods in juice concentration are lower thermal damage to product, increase in aroma retention, less energy consumption and lower equipment cost. So in terms of juice industry, these two are basically have a low thermal damage to product and increase in aroma retention is very beneficial and promotes membrane separation in juice concentration industry. Membrane concentration of fruit juice not only provides microbiological stability but also permits economic in packaging and distribution of the finished product due to reduction in bulk by weight and volume. So if we analyze this membrane schematic diagram where we used separation of juice from fruit as a conventional method, where we use sorting, grading, pressing, depectination, we use in conventional filtration as well as evaporation, which go further storage and packaging. So by application of membrane technology, we can go directly after the fruits, which we go for the sorting, grading or washing, then followed by pressing. We go depectination. Depectination increases the yield. This is used in both industry, either in conventional methods or where it is utilization of membrane. So after depectination, when it is being utilized in the membrane processing, it goes to the reverse osmosis, sometimes ultrafiltration based on the pore size or selection of the membrane size, but basically it goes to the reverse osmosis, where this is again fractionated in two membrane, one is permeate and one is retentate. Generally in permeate it is passed to the 35 to 40 bricks. So this permeate goes for the freeze concentration, and if we want to reduce the cost of operation, we directly go to the permeate to the evaporation and then we go for storage. But in order to retain the value of aroma, we may use freeze concentration methods and then go for the storage and packaging and followed by dispatch. So by using this membrane processing, generally it has been observed that around 40 to 45% aroma retention as well as severe less damage can be achieved using membrane separation. We can see this slide, retention of composition during the concentration of juices using reverse osmosis, where it is basically categorized into table form: juices, membrane, components and retention. So for orange juice we use cellulose acetate, and these are the components: succinic acid, malic, tartaric, which has a range of 35, 65, 88 into this one. Basically tannic acid, tartaric acid and citric acid, which has 88, 94 and 96% retention with the help of this membrane separation. Similarly for the apple and apple juice, it has been found. Using this data we can see. Further we may see the apple juices which has cellulose acetate. We use this particular membrane mode CA865 for the retention of these components: fructose, sucrose, acid, total volatile ethanol, and this range of gives from the 20 to the around 76% retentions we can use with the help of membrane technology. Application of membrane technology in food processing industry we have already discussed, especially in the dairy sector, seawater treatment, as well as concentration of juice. Other area where membrane technology is being used with the help of different types of membrane we have already discussed. These sectors are dairy, grain milling, beverage, fats and oil, sugar industry, fruits and vegetable industry. And for you use different membrane type for different application, like cheese whey concentration we use reverse osmosis, milk concentration we use reverse osmosis, desalination of salt whey, here this is ED, that is electrodialysis, this is the electrical gradient. Waste treatment, egg concentration we use ultrafiltration. So we use in dairy and poultry. In grain milling we use wastewater recovery and use recovery of byproducts from wastewater by the use of ultrafiltration. Beverage industry is largely being used the technology of membrane separation for the cold separation, stabilization of beer with the help of simple microfiltration, then removal of color from wine using ultrafiltration, removal of alcohol from beer and wine using RO, and wastewater treatment and pre-treatment water like other industry is most commonly used. Similarly, fats and oil, for wastewater treatment we used reverse osmosis. In sugar industry, pre-concentration of dilute sugar, solution, syrup concentration, ultrafiltration and reverse osmosis is being used. In fruits and vegetable industry, concentration of tomato juice, wastewater treatment, concentration juices, we use reverse osmosis, ultrafiltration, or as a combination of reverse osmosis and ultrafiltration membrane. So there are ample uses of membrane technology in food processing industry, and with the advancement of membrane it is being used in all sector. So till now we have discussed membrane fouling and application of membrane technology in food processing industry. So in last we will discuss about the advantages and limitation of membrane technology in food processing. So if you talk about the advantages of membrane technology offers several advantages. Competing approach to concentration and separation used in food industry, like food is not heated and the there is negligible loss of nutritional or eating quality, particularly less loss of volatiles using membrane technology. Another advantage of this technique is that as a separation are pressure driven, and hence there is no risk of heat damage or thermal losses. Further, no phase changes are involved and hence less energy is required with the application of membrane technology. And last but not least, size of a spectrum separated by the membrane process is enormous, hence fractionation, like we discussed in dairy sector, that from the skim milk we use it from the whey protein isolate, whey protein concentrate to the cheese in the cheese processing industry for the lactose, as well as separation for the processed water. So there are ample advantages with the help of membrane technology in food industry. Apart from significant advantages, membrane technology has limitation, and with time it would be sorted in near future. Presently, the limitation of this technique is that membrane are relatively expensive. Further, usage of high pressure can increase the cost of operation because it is a pressure driven process. So higher usage of pressure can increase the cost of operation. Also, certain solvents, colloidal solids, especially graphite and other acids, can quickly and permanently destroy the membrane surfaces. So if you are going to use the organic membrane like polypropylene membrane, polyamides, it can be quickly destructed by using certain solvents that might be used during the process. Synthetics are not effectively treated by this method. In addition to this, fouling of membrane, we have discussed recently, the fouling of membrane, that is deposition of polymer on the membrane, can reduce operating time between periods of cleaning. And last, lifetime of membrane is generally low if compared with the cost. So this is another limitation. However, these limitations are time bounded and research are in progress to overcome in near future. So this was all about the module 1 of the course of novel techniques in food processing and preservation. In module 1, we discussed about membrane technology elaborately under the lecture 2, 3, 4 and lecture 5. Membrane technology is a very promising separation method and its widespread application has not been started yet. In the coming future, with the advancement of membrane, we are quite sure that we will use membrane technology as a very effective separation method in food processing. Till now, if you have any question, you are very welcome to put your question in the comment section or by sending directly to my email. In the next lecture, that is lecture 6, we will start module 2, where we will discuss about supercritical fluid extraction and high pressure processing in this module. These two techniques, that is supercritical fluid extraction and high pressure processing, are very important in food processing application and also very vital for the research purposes. So thank you again for your interest. See you in the lecture 6.